And this perhaps is the issue ultimately that I think is why people voted, or 3 million of them, asked for another general election. It is the breach of trust between Westminster and the country on immigration. I'm not even discussing the boats. No logical argument for this whatsoever, other than both the government in certain parts of the north and the Conservative Party in most of the south don't.
Nigel Farage has never been a man to shy away from controversy. Over the years, he has built his reputation on blunt honesty, fiery rhetoric, and a relentless ability to say what so many others in politics refuse to utter. But what unfolded recently on live television was something entirely different. It wasn't just a throwaway comment or a provocative remark meant to stir debate. This was a bombshell, one that stunned the audience in the studio, left political opponents scrambling for words, and sent shockwaves across the nation. Viewers sat in disbelief, gripping their seats as Farage delivered a message so direct, so unapologetic, that it instantly became one of the most talked about moments in modern British politics. And today, we are going to unravel exactly what happened, why it matters, and how this moment may go down as a turning point in the history of British political broadcasting. To understand why this statement carried such immense weight, you need to understand the figure of Nigel Farage himself. Love him or hate him, Farage has been a central force in reshaping Britain's political landscape. From his days as leader of UKIP to his pivotal role in pushing for Brexit, he has proven again and again that he has the power to influence not only the public debate, but the very direction of the country. His speeches have inspired millions and enraged just as many. His style is confrontational, his presence magnetic.
Reform is definitely winning at the moment, right? Because Labour are flailing and failing on all sorts of issues. Immigration, NHS, obviously grooming gangs, etc. But the Tories also didn't do that well. So it's very easy, Reform at the moment sort of have a clean slate.
What they were actually expressing was a sense of utter disenchantment with the entire political system.
And his words always carefully chosen to make maximum impact. Yet even for a man with a long history of dramatic political interventions, this particular outburst stood apart. It began innocently enough. Farage was invited onto a primetime television program, one of those settings where politicians are usually expected to spar politely, dodge difficult questions, and stick to rehearsed talking points. The host pressed him on the current state of the country, from immigration to the economy, and it seemed like a typical exchange. But then something changed. Farage leaned forward, his expression hardening, his tone sharpening. The studio grew noticeably quieter, the audience sensing that something unusual was about to unfold. And then he said it, a statement so raw, so unfiltered, that even the host was momentarily stunned into silence. Farage declared, without hesitation, that Britain was on the verge of losing itself. Not just politically, not just economically, but culturally and socially. He painted a picture of a nation at a crossroads, one that had sacrificed its identity for the sake of appeasing elites and ignoring the will of ordinary people. His voice carried urgency, almost desperation, as he accused successive governments of betraying the very people they were elected to serve. He spoke of broken promises, of a system rigged against the working class, of communities feeling abandoned and unheard. And then he delivered the line that froze the studio. If this continues, if we keep pretending everything is fine when it's not, we won't recognize Britain in a decade. We'll be strangers in our own country. The words struck like a thunderclap. You could see the reaction ripple across the audience. Some gasped, others applauded, and many simply sat frozen, unsure how to respond. The host attempted to move on, but Farage refused to let the conversation slip back into the safety of rehearsed talking points. He pressed harder.
And this debate can be used as a game of ping-pong this afternoon between the two political parties that have dominated British politics since the end of the First World War. But actually something bigger is going on out there.
Right off the bat, Farage dropped a bombshell that people aren't just fed up, there's something deeper going on.
Have a think about the fact that the Labour Party got a third of the vote and 2/3 of the seats. For every Labour MP, there are 34,000 votes. For every Reform MP...
And this is why what happened cannot simply be dismissed as a passing television moment. It was more than entertainment, more than politics as usual. It was a spark, a reminder that words still have the power to cut through the noise, to awaken emotions, and to shape the path of a nation. Nigel Farage may have shocked the audience, but what he really did was force Britain to look at itself in the mirror and ask, who are we and where are we going? This is only the beginning of the story, because once such a bombshell has been dropped, the ripples continue to spread. The debates intensify, the divisions widen, and the stakes grow higher. The question now is not just what Farage said, but how Britain will respond. Will it spark meaningful change, or will it fade into the long list of moments when truth was spoken but ignored? Only time will tell. One thing is certain, Nigel Farage has once again proven his ability to shake the political establishment to its core. And whether you believe his words are a warning worth heeding or a dangerous provocation, you cannot deny their power.
And with the national insurance increases, yet another hammer blow to the men and women running small businesses in this country. They had not expected this. They were promised it wouldn't happen in the run-up to the general election. And we find that even now affects GP surgeries in the constituency and hospices close to it. So perhaps you can see why people are upset. They feel things are being done to them they didn't have realistic expectations of.
This was a moment that will be remembered, replayed, and debated for years to come. And it leaves us with a sobering realization that the battle for Britain's future is far from over, and the voices willing to speak the hardest truths will be the ones shaping it. In the hours and days after Nigel Farage's dramatic statement on live television, the response began to snowball into something bigger than anyone initially anticipated. It wasn't just journalists or political commentators weighing in. Ordinary citizens flooded radio shows, social media platforms, and community discussions with their own thoughts and reactions. People from all walks of life felt compelled to either defend Farage passionately or condemn him fiercely. The nation seemed divided into two camps, and both were equally energized. What's striking here is not merely the polarization of opinion, but the sheer intensity of the engagement. In a world where political debates often pass by unnoticed, where carefully staged announcements are forgotten almost as soon as they are delivered, this moment stuck. People could not simply move on. Farage's words had touched something deeper, something raw. And that raises an uncomfortable truth.